Everybody, welcome to another edition of TheAnarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. I have a returning guest, although by a different name. I don't know if that meant she got married or just decided to get rid of the old name. It used to be Amanda Billy Rock, but it's now Amanda B. Johnson, and she's actually doing her own show called Dash Detailed, which is all about the cryptocurrency Dash, which is actually one of the best performing cryptocurrencies recently. It's been around for about 3 years. We're going to get into everything about Dash. She's basically the Dash girl, and she's going to be actually coming to Anarchapulco and speaking at Cryptopulco about Dash, so you'll hear more about it there. But I wanted to have her on because it's been a while and before she came to Anarchapulco and just get caught up. So Amanda, it's great to see you.
It is great to see you too, Jeff. Thanks for having me on your show. Yeah,
it's our pleasure. I'm see you at the pool there. I think you're escaping some of the cold weather up north a little bit somewhere
yes.
Before coming to Anarchapulco. But let's talk about Dash. You've been like huge into Dash for a while now. A lot of our audience probably doesn't know a ton about it. Our audience definitely knows all about Bitcoin. It probably knows a little bit about a few others like Ethereum and Monero. But we've never talked about Dash before on the show. So why don't you just give us like the beginner's primer on Dash?
I would love to, and it feels so fitting that this is taking place on your show right now, Jeff, because you were one of the earliest people to start talking about Bitcoin, and so it feels really fitting that you've given me the opportunity to, again, to talk about something relatively early on. So, yes, Dash is what, in short, Dash is what I thought Bitcoin was going to be, which is a digital cash, something that functions, that has the properties of cash, which is to say that there are 3 points of cash, basically. One is that at the point of sale, when you hand over the cash to the merchant, the transaction is finished. The merchant doesn't need to worry that the money might not be there. Of course it is, it's in his hand. And so Dash is the only cryptocurrency which offers what it's called in crypto terms an instant confirmation, which means that there is no possibility of what's called a double spend at the point of payment. In other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, of course, you're not double spend protected until about 10 minutes, right? In Ethereum, it's about 17 seconds. In Monero, it's like a minute. So Dash is the only one where you can get an instant confirmation and work point of sale that way. The second thing that sets Dash apart from Bitcoin is that you don't have to be surveilled if you don't want to, which is to say that there is the option right within your Dash wallet to push a button that says private send. What is private send? Well, it's basically a function that our network performs where without needing to trust anybody with your Dash, you can mix your Dash with the Dash of other people, essentially creating a pot so that after your coins are in the pot and you pull them back into your wallet, nobody really knows whose coins those were. And that sounds kind of weird, but what it means in everyday terms is that your money is not, the history of your money is not traceable through the blockchain. And so you can opt out of blockchain surveillance if you like. And then the third way that we're set apart from Bitcoin is that we realized pretty early on, well, not me, I'm not a developer, I wish, but the Dash developers and stakeholders realized pretty early on that we just need to, cryptocurrency is a business. We're offering a product for sale to customers, and we're always hoping to get more customers. So if we are a business, we need to be able to operate like a business, which means that, first of all, we need to pay all our people, not just our miners. We need to pay our developers. We need to pay our full nodes. We need to pay the guys who design our wallets and who do security audits on the code, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so through having a voting mechanism of our stakeholders and a treasury, which is to say the inflation of the newly created Dash, we're able to vote to hire basically contractors. And so everybody within the ecosystem has proper incentives, which allows us to make decisions very quickly. Prime example, we were able to vote to increase our block size cap in less than 24 hours last year. So
That's definitely faster than Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That's been an ongoing, of course, conversation now for, I think, more than a year, the block size debate on Bitcoin. Okay, that's very interesting. So let's go to the first point of the transaction speed. What is it that Dash does that enables it to be so fast compared to the other cryptocurrencies?
That is a great question. The reason that Dash is the only one that can offer an instant confirmation is because Dash is the only cryptocurrency network which created a second tier of infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, I mean the people who run computers that run our network. So in pretty much every other cryptocurrency, the infrastructure begins and ends at miners. So people running computers whose computers are submitting hashes every second, of course, and they are paid the entirety of the newly created coins, as well as the entirety of all of the transaction fees on the network. So the reason that those coins can't offer instant confirmations is because of the nature of networks, global networks. In order to offer an instant confirmation, you basically have to find a way to get all of these hundreds or even thousands of computers all across the world to agree on one state of the ledger instantaneously. And so that's a problem. How can you do that? So the way that Dash solved that is they created a second piece of infrastructure beyond the miner. In Dash, this is called a master node. They have three functions. They run a full node. They hold 1,000 Dash as basically proof that they are staked in the network, so that they are highly incentivized not to misbehave, because 1,000 Dash at today's prices is worth $16,000. And then they perform the functions of the instant confirmations and the coin mixing. So the way they're able to offer these instant confirmations is that every Dash block, which in Dash is every 2.5 minutes, 10 master nodes are randomly selected to be the instant send master nodes. So anytime someone goes to make an instant payment in Dash, the inputs of their transaction, which is to say, the Dash that they want to send, the data is sent to these 10 master nodes, and those 10 master nodes perform what's called a lock on that Dash, so that anyone trying to double spend that Dash over the next, I think it's locked for up to an hour. Anyone trying to use those same inputs again to try to trick the network and get their Dash back won't be able to, because they're locked. So when the lock expires in an hour, our network has made 20, 30, even 40 more blocks. And so it's completely impossible to ever double spend an instant send transaction. And that's because of the second tier masternode network.
That's very interesting. On the second point that you made about Dash is about privacy. There's a few coins out there that also sort of say that privacy is one of their main sort of differentiators from Bitcoin. I think Monero is one. Another one I think is Zcash. How does Dash sort of compare to those coins for privacy?
Sure. So the method that privacy can be achieved with those coins is basically the differentiating part. So in Dash, you have the option to be private, which I believe is the same with Zcash if they got their bugs worked out. Last I heard, Zcash's privacy feature was still theoretical. But if they got their bugs worked out, I would say Dash's privacy is similar to theirs in that you have the option of sending a traceable transaction, just a la Bitcoin, where you can see that coins went from address A to address B, and that is that. Whereas in Zcash, the privacy offering is to basically encrypt the details of a private transaction. In Dash, the offering is to, as I had mentioned before, basically mix one's coins in a pot of Dash of lots of other people. And so after a mixing round, there's you can have up to thousands of possibilities of where any individual coin came from. And so it's just completely, it's a non-starter to trace the coin's trails on the chain. Whereas with Monero, you're not able to see where any coins went on the chain at any time. And so it seems like Dash's solution is the one that keeps the blockchain the most transparent, so to speak, which is to say you can always see all coins on the Dash blockchain and you can always see where they all go. And the privacy is achieved through creating lots and lots of doubt as to who could possibly own what. And so we kind of like that the blockchain is completely open and there are no secrets as to the monetary supply or what coins reside where.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see all these different coins come up with their different sort of solutions to this one big problem, which is the government, which is tracking everything you're doing and trying to extort you for everything you're trying to do. The Monero one's interesting in that they don't really, I still don't quite actually even understand how it works, how like no one can see where anything is. It's very, very interesting. But the Dash one seems like kind of a nice sort of medium between sort of Bitcoin, which is completely, absolutely transparent, and something like Monero, which is absolutely, totally not transparent. And so it is interesting. So the third point about Dash that you made was that it has this sort of this ability to manage some of the funds of Dash itself. And this is kind of confusing to me. So how does that all work, that some people can somehow get some Dash for doing certain things if people vote for it? How does that whole system work?
Sure, happy to tell you. So as I had mentioned before, I guess what could be called the revenue stream for any cryptocurrency company, and yes, I'm gonna call them a company. They may not be a registered corporation, but they're trying to make a profit. And so the revenue stream of all cryptocurrencies is the new coins that they create, right? Their inflation and their transaction fees. And so in Dash, we thought, okay, so our miners are just one of our employee classes that we need. So let's not have them consuming the entirety of our revenue stream. So what we do is when new coins are created in Dash, that's called a block reward in crypto terms. When new coins are created in Dash, we don't send 100% of the block reward to the miners. Instead, we allocate it to be able to hire everybody that we need. So we send 45% of the block reward to miners, 45% of the block reward to masternodes, and that leaves 10% that we call our treasury. Now, the way the treasury works is through masternode vote. So anybody who wants to work for Dash in a capacity other than mining and masternoding puts forth a proposal to Dash. I did this to get funding for my YouTube show, Dash Detailed. So anybody can put forth a proposal to the Dash network. In fact, I made a video tutorial on just how to do it. I'd be happy to send it to you afterward. And you basically give your pitch to the masternode as to why you think you would be a great contractor for Dash, how much you want to get paid, and how many months in a row you would like to get paid. And so this is how we pay our core developers. This is how we pay me for making Dash Detailed. This is how we pay all sorts of people. This is how we fund our attendances and sponsorships of conferences. And so as long as 10% more masternodes vote yes than no on hiring any given contractor, then that is how it's paid out. And their payments come straight from the blockchain, just as though they were miners. It's amazing. Like, I am paid directly from the Dash blockchain, not from a person, not from a payroll, from the blockchain based on vote.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's very similar to Steam in that way, that people can create something, create content, and actually get paid from the actual blockchain itself. I really like the idea. I think I've only really heard of Steam using it. So Dash is sort of the second one. It's sort of incentivize people to actually make the whole ecosystem better through the actual inflation of the blockchain, and not giving the 100% of the rewards to the miners themselves, and only giving a certain percentage, and the rest goes to actually people who are contributing to it. I think it's really interesting. I'm very curious to see how all these sort of work out. All these things, of course, are sort of like experiments to some extent. But Dash has been around now for about 3 years, so that's kind of interesting. I see it's now the number 7 cryptocurrencies in terms of market cap. As of right now, it's about 115 million. Just behind Ethereum Classic, just behind Monero, just behind Litecoin. Ripple's around 240 million. Ethereum's around 1 billion. And of course, Bitcoin, which as of this recording, just surpassed $1,000 again at 16 billion. So still a long ways to go. So how long have you known about Dash, and give us a bit of a perspective on how you've seen its progression over the last 3 years?
Sure. So I was a journalist at Cointelegraph in 2014. So I was always on the hunt for relevant crypto stories. And at the time, I was pretty much in agreement with most other capital in this space that Bitcoin was definitely like destined by God and the cosmos to be the king of crypto forever, and that everything else was just a sort of dalliance and like a frivolity, altcoins, shit coins. And so just through the course of looking for stories to publish about, in late 2014, I came across this story that Dash had just split up their block reward and was now paying both miners and full nodes or master nodes. And the reason that caught my eye is because only not that long before, I had been on the Bitcoin subreddit and I had been seeing these posts that people had been making about the full node count is dropping, the full node count is dropping, what should we do? And I left a comment on the Bitcoin subreddit saying, did anybody think that maybe full nodes should be paid a portion of the block reward? And one of the core developers himself responded, and he was like, you can submit a patch for that if you want. And so I thought, okay, all right, these Dash people, they have just solved at least one thing that I thought was a problem with Bitcoin. And so I just kept my eyes on them in the years that followed. And sure enough, about a year later, that's when they created their treasury, which is to say they took out another portion of their block reward and said, okay, in addition to paying miners and master nodes, now we're going to hire ourselves. We're going to fund ourselves. And again, the reason that caught my eye is because this was about the time when there started to be major contention about how much influence this company called Blockstream was having on Bitcoin. And before that, there was influence from MIT on Bitcoin. And before that, there was influence from members of the Bitcoin Foundation. And so again, I thought, wait a minute, this whole treasury idea in Dash, that eliminates conflict of interest in terms of who is paying whom to do what. And so I would say, yeah, I've had my eye on Dash for about 2.5 years, and it was last summer that I decided I would like to throw my hat in the ring of this currency competition. The theme of my show that I had before, the Daily Decrypt, was currency competition, because to me that's what this is. The market is trying to sort out the winner from the pack, or the winners from the pack. And I thought, it's been fun being a commentator on currency competition, but I would like to compete. I would like to place my bet. And so to me, Dash was the obvious choice. And it's not been easy. I've gotten, I've gotten a lot of flack for this. There's a lot of fatal conceit and arrogance going around, and so joining up with an altcoin shitcoin is not something you do if you want to be popular. But I don't want to be popular as much as I want to be on the right side of history. So that is why I now work exclusively for Dash.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, and I know all about doing things that are kind of new or being out ahead of the pack. A guy, actually an old Bilderberger guy of all things, about 20 years ago when I started my internet company, I was the first one doing so many things. And he said, you know what a pioneer is, don't you? And I said, no. And he said, it's a guy lying in a pool of his own blood with arrows in his back. And I always remember that, because I usually tend to be kind of a pioneer. I actually went through the same thing when I mentioned that Steam looks pretty cool. cool. And that's all I said. I wasn't like, put all your money in Steam. I was like, hey, this is really cool. This is an amazing new application of blockchain technology. And oh, boo. And people were throwing stuff, on the internet. And, so I totally understand that. So I'm actually looking at a chart of Dash right now. I'm at coinmarketcap.com. Maybe my intrepid video guy, Pete Gorman, can throw up the chart on the screen. But there's actually no chart here of the price of Dash in dollars, but I see in terms of Bitcoin, it kind of spiked around 2014. It also had a spike in 2015. It then sort of just grinded higher and higher all the way up to about September of last year, and then it went down a bit, and now it's grinding back up again. It's pretty close to its all-time highs in terms of Bitcoin, and definitely in terms of market cap, it's definitely at all-time highs right now. So in those terms, it looks like it's doing quite well. What's your impression of where Dash is at and where it could go from here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not one to... I love to listen to those price chart analysis guys. Their lingo is so wild to me when they're like, you look at the cup and handle, and you look at the trading lane, and this and that, and the red candles and the green candles, and I have no idea what they're talking about. So I have no price speculations other than I think that it will either be zero or the moon within like 20 years. Either cryptocurrency is going to take hold, and I'm betting that if it does, Dash will be the one that does, or one of the ones that does, or this is just, it's going to be a fun experiment, and we're all going to lose all of our money, not just those of us who own Dash, but those of us who own any cryptocurrency whatsoever. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think, I mean, when I look at the market cap of Bitcoin, right, I mean, $16 billion is saying, yes, I want a network that doesn't rubber stamp my transaction for at least 10 minutes, that has had doubling transaction fees every year for the past 3 years, whose core developers, one of their core developers, seriously suggested in a newsletter that I read the other day, I think it's called the Bitcoin Improvement Protocol newsletter, like the BIP newsletter, a core developer seriously suggested that Bitcoin's current transaction capacity, which is obviously not enough for demand already, that it be slashed by 70%. There is $16 billion worth of capital that is saying that this is all awesome and cool. So if $16 billion worth of capital says that that's awesome and cool, I think that the potential for how much capital says that Dash is awesome and cool is way beyond that. So I hope we get that chance to see what the market thinks. And here is our maybe the main differentiator in terms of where we're going in the future, which is we don't think we're going to get that chance unless we can stop feeling and looking like cryptocurrency. One day, Dash's lead developer, Evan Duffield, sat down and used the Dash Core wallet with his mom to see what she thought. And of course, this is not a surprise to anybody except cryptographers and computer programmers. Of course, she was, like screaming inside, horrified in her mind when she saw these long cryptographic addresses that look like alien language accidentally infiltrated your computer. And of course, she has no idea like what a private key is, how you find it, what a backup means, why you should back it up, etc., etc. And so he comes to realize, okay, cryptocurrency is cool for us nerds, but cryptocurrency is not cool for our moms. And if something is not cool for our moms, is it reasonable to think that it's going to take off as money, which is by definition the most widely owned and traded and used commodity of them all? And so Evan Duffield was like, okay, can we make our product not feel like cryptocurrency? Can we make it feel instead like PayPal or like Venmo? And so he started coding it. Him and his people started coding it, and it's called Evolution, and it will be released in alpha in the middle of this year, in the middle of 2017, and is set for a complete public release at the end of this year. And this will be very unique in that, see, you can get this experience already from using Coinbase, but the thing about Coinbase is that they're holding your private keys. They're a Bitcoin bank. So currently, you can only get nice user experiences with cryptocurrency by using a Bitcoin bank. But with Dash Evolution, you will still be able to hold your own private keys because it's not, the user experience isn't coming from a third-party service. It's coming from the Dash protocol itself. So it will feel like a Coinbase, but you'll still be your own bank. And we will be the first in cryptocurrency to do such a thing, and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I didn't know some of the stuff about Dash. I've known a few people who've been kind of involved with it. It's always been on my radar, but I didn't know everything that I learned just by talking to you today. So thank you so much for coming on and letting me know about it, letting all the people watching this know about it. As you mentioned, we talked about Bitcoin here in 2011 a lot, around $3, currently at about $1,000. So this podcast is very profitable and for a lot of people just to watch. So to finish up, I know that you're coming down. Sorry, is that a speedboat race or
It is an airplane, and it's almost gone.
The chemtrailing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, he's almost good. So I know you're coming down to Anarchapulco, which is, of course, February 25th to 28th. You're going to be speaking on the 28th, which is CryptoPoco, along with so many great people. Let me actually pull up the who's all speaking there at CryptoPoco, because we keep adding people almost every day now. I think it's cryptopoco.com. I just got to pull it up.
It is.
Yeah, I should know. Let's see here. Oh, I typed it wrong. Cryptopoco.com. I should do this ahead of time. I should have some sort of planning or some sort of preparation, but I don't. Okay, so we got Jose Rodriguez of the Bitso, which is the largest Bitcoin exchange in Mexico. Trace Mayer, of course. He was actually the guy who I think was the first person on TheAnarchast to talk about Bitcoin. Roger Veer, the Bitcoin Jesus. Dan Larimer of Steemit, as I mentioned, Steemit. Tone Vase is coming down as well. Tatiana Moroz will be talking about Artist Coin. Kingsley Edwards, he's kind of cool. He's got a company which you can gamble on the internet in video games using cryptocurrencies. Chris Horlacher, who's got Equibit, which is really interesting. They're just launching. And Bruce Fenton of the Bitcoin Foundation. I just actually ran into them at the Satoshi Roundtable a couple weeks ago in Cancun. And you'll be there. So why don't you let us know anything you want to finish up with talking about Dash? Let us know where people can find out about your podcast, your videos, and anything else you want to let people know.
Sure. So, of course, anybody who will be attending Anarchapulco, I will be speaking on the day of CryptoPulco, which is the 28th. For anyone not able to attend, Pete and I will be uploading my presentation to Dash's YouTube channel, and that is where you can find everything that I do, which is every Wednesday. I release a show called Dash Detailed at noon Eastern time. Yeah, 12 noon Eastern time. And yeah, so I would hope that you would check that out. I like to think that Dash Detailed keeps you in the loop in a way that you don't need to be an expert about cryptocurrency to learn how you can get involved. The incentives are so much there in Dash that if you have an idea to contribute to the Dash ecosystem, you are qualified to submit a proposal and we will vote on it, and you could quite seriously be brought on as a blockchain contractor. This is a very real possibility. So yeah, so the YouTube channel is youtube.com/dasborg every Wednesday at 12 noon.
That's cool. I don't mind that kind of voting at all, where it's blockchain-based voluntary voting. And for people who haven't actually seen your show, Amanda, it's really great. For people who haven't seen it, it's really like, it's almost like Entertainment Tonight of cryptocurrency news. It's actually entertaining. It's not like, you can imagine how a cryptocurrency weekly podcast could be quite dry and quite boring, but Amanda doesn't make it boring at all. So definitely check it out. We'll have the links to that all down below. Check her out at CryptoPoco, February 28th, and of course the whole week of Anarchapulco, February 25th to 28th. February 24th is the Dollar Vigilante Summit. afterward is all kinds of stuff. It's an entire week of craziness. Looking forward to seeing a lot of people down here. I'd like to thank Amanda B. Johnson for coming on with us. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, share down below. And that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.